Welcome back to Living in My Mind. I appreciate everybody who listens and watches. Your comments, please. There's a phone number here on the bottom. You can text, you can call, you can give us whatever information, insight, anything you want. This one I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about how our health is affected in the mental health part of our job. No matter what we do, where we work, who we are, our religion, our sex, who we identify at, the color of our skin, how much money you make. There's so much in the workforce that really affects us. The work I do is very tedious. It's very detailed. And I do a lot of training. And something happened with one of the facilities I do training with. One of the people threw me under the bus, so to speak. And I had to keep my mouth shut, deal with the people who brought me on to help, and then realize all I have to do is what they asked me to do. Now, the residual anger in my mind, the vindictiveness in my mind, the way I would do things in the past was still there. Still here right now, because I realize, damn, I want to hurt someone who tried to hurt me. Because many times in our workplace, we do other people's jobs and they get paid. We do other people's work. We're doing what they're supposed to do. And if they're in a position that's of authority or administration, there are sometimes people who can fire you. There are sometimes people who can get rid of you. They can make your life miserable. If you're in a union, it's a different story, still the same way because you have a say. But a lot of jobs, that's what happens, that we deal with people who we work with who don't give a damn about us. All they do is care about getting a work check. And they're going to put you in a position to where if they're not doing their job, you look bad. But the good thing is, what I've learned is I need to keep my mouth shut. Because the reality is, if someone trusts me to come on board and help one of their clients, it's a good learning. Today was a learning session for me. I said this before, about 4 years ago, I had 2 rehabs I worked with. Combined, I was bringing over $60,000 a month just off those 2. And I only tell you that, how severe it was for me, because within 48 hours, I lost both of them because I had to tell both of the owners what I thought about them. I had to tell them things that I could have gently worked with them on, but I have no regrets because I had to speak up for myself and the clients who were not getting the help and all, sadly to say, the fraud that was going on. So it made me feel good about myself. But then I sit back and I'm like, holy mother of Jesus. I lost all that. So a slip of the tongue can destroy many things we deal with. If you're dealing with things in the workplace, make sure that you step back, think about it, and talk to someone who can help you, someone you can trust. Don't be afraid to go over somebody's head. Because here's the reality. Many people who own businesses know this. With all the different rights that everybody has, with the Disability Act, with all the different lawyers out there looking to help sue, if someone's treating you a certain way, no owner or anybody that's decent that runs a company is going to allow something to happen to you. And that's something you need to really look at. If you're having some type of harassment, if you're being treated wrong, if you're doing other people's work and they're taking credit. In my industry, I come across that a lot where other people take credit for what people do. And sadly, no one says anything because people are afraid they're not going to have a job. If you've got kids, if you've got a wife, you got a boyfriend, you got a lover, you got who's ever in your life, there's reasons people don't do something. But then what happens? What happens? It turns into the fact that you get depressed, you get anxiety. You have to take time off work. It's going to cost them twice as much because they got to bring someone in to help you. So be good to yourself, slow down, find the help you need to address, and then when the time is right, address it in a very healthy way. I just wanted to start this episode like that. We have some more text messages that people sent in about the workforce and about certain questions. So I'm going to try and answer them the best that I can with the extreme knowledge that I think I have.
All right, this is the first question.
This is 20. Mark, my producer, by the way. He's helping with this.
Hello, everybody. And excited to get into this. Some really interesting questions and thoughts here. So number 1, we have, how does workplace culture contribute to the development of anxiety disorders among employees?
What it does is first of all, you're getting paid for somebody to do a service. Doesn't matter what it is. Also, you're getting judged, not just by the people that you work with or the people that are your superior at that job. When I say superior, it doesn't mean they're a superior person. They just have a different title than you. They might have been there longer. They might have trained for a different position. You might have trained for something that's not the same. Then you have the client or the customer. So you have to appease so many people. The one thing I've learned is if you have a job description, that's how you do your job. Many businesses, you'll come in, you have a job description, they'll make an offer, you get the job. Then they want you to do so many other things. Then what do? We get angry. We get frustrated. We get depressed. We don't know what to do. Here's the kicker. If that's the situation, talk to them. Say, look, here's what my job description is, but here's what I'm doing. And then see if, number one, they're going to pay you more. See if, number two, you're doing somebody else's work. But something like this in the workplace, it creates anxiety, stress, and then what happens? You take it home. You might have issues. How many of you have ever had an issue in some situation or with somebody and inadvertently, and you didn't mean to, but you took it out on somebody else? Whether you screamed, you yelled, you shunned them, you isolated, you did something, you went and you had a cold beer. If you deal with food, you went and you ate a bunch to feed yourself and stuff yourself so you didn't have to deal with it. Many times we're going to take that situation and abuse ourselves rather than finding the right way to come up with an answer.
What are the most common misconceptions about mental health in the workplace that you encounter in your practice?
In my work, I think the big issue is many people think that they're okay. 95% of the people who work in my industry have dealt with their own mental health issues or addiction issues at some point. And they always think, well, okay, I'm going to be a therapist. I'm going to work in a rehab. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to help other people. And the reality is it helps them. Everybody in every place has some type of anxiety, no matter what it is, whether it's from the work or your personal life. You take your personal life, you bring it into work. It's difficult. You take your work life, take it home. It's difficult. But everybody I work with, there's some type of anxiety. How they address it is one thing. Remember, I think the common thing with any business is people want to get paid. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't want to say something I shouldn't. Well, what if they don't like me? What if I get fired because of this? There's so many laws that help us now to where you're not going to get fired for the wrong reason. And here's the kicker. Whatever your job is, do your job. I've learned there's things that I need to do that can make me better at what I do and help whoever I'm trying to do get better as well. But in my industry, very few people don't deal with some type of anxiety because remember, we're dealing with people helping them. We're working to help them hopefully get clean and sober, address their mental health issues. And if we fail, there's a good chance that the client or the individual is not going to have an opportunity that they came to us for.
Can you describe the interplay between job stress and personal predispositions to anxiety and how they affect an individual's mental health?
I think the answer to that is we're born into our families and things are situational maybe. Mom and dad have their issues. You're going to have your issues. Mom is paranoid about things. Dad's paranoid. You're going to become paranoid. It's what you're taught when you're younger. It's the environment that you're part of when you're younger. And then you just stay in that because nobody knows any different. Nobody sought help. Nobody wanted to change. It just becomes natural to you. It becomes the holiday season. People go home. Well, it's going to be crazy going home. Well, you keep going back to the same situation. So you already know what's going to happen. In all the reality, you can't complain. Well, if I don't go, it's going to cause a problem. Okay, but when you do go, the anxiety and depression hits you so hard you don't want to be there. It affects you 6 months later. So what happens, all those things you deal with the family, when you go to the workplace, it's just a different family. It's a different setting. So you're going to notice how somebody treats you, and that residual from how your family was or is, you're going to think the same way about that person. You have, I call it a family tree and a work tree. You have your mom, dad, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins, all that. In the workplace, you have the person who owns it, more like a family, mom and dad, whoever, female, male. Then you have the people who are supervisors, could be your aunts, uncles. Then you have the people you work with, your brothers, sisters. Then you have the people who are interns. Those could be your cousins. So it's like a family tree. You're going from one family to another. One is who you were born into. The other is who you made a choice to be with. So you have to really take a look at how you handle the situation. If you handle the same thing in work, situation, or problem that you handle at home, pretty good chance you're going to get fired. Pretty good chance something's going to go wrong. If you have a lot of anger issues, you take it to work, and I know this personally, you lose. So I do believe that that's how people have to relate, is really step back and realize that if somebody has treated you bad at home or they have anxiety or their ways of doing things affect you negatively, that's not the person in front of you at work. It's a completely different situation. You have to be able to step back and separate it.
In what ways can management practices unintentionally aggravate employees' mental health issues, and how can these practices be modified?
Management, the bottom line is money. Management, the bottom line is production. So when you get hired and they say, this is what you have to do, this is what you need to do, this is how we want you to do it, blah, 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 this, that. Because every business has to make money or else they don't succeed. And you can't pay the people. So management has to also realize that they're dealing with human beings. It's kind of like in sports. You have all these different free agents in football now signing different places. You're cutting men who have families, who have kids. You're taking money away from them that unexpectedly, maybe they didn't realize you were going to cut them. So what are they going to do? They panic. But when it's a workforce, sports is a work. It's a work. It's not, people, I play for free. Your mother would play for free. You're not going to play for free. Let's get real, all these athletes. Because now in college, even in high school, people are getting money, which they deserve, not taken away from that. But when it comes to the workforce, you have the people who have this attitude that are the owners or supervisors, or whatever position, CEO, COO, DOO, whatever title they have. They've earned that because maybe their education is higher. Maybe they went to college, got a degree specifically for that. Give it to them. But remember, whatever you do, you're just as good. I don't care what it is, you're just as good. But management has to understand that their expectations, if they have expectations of you, they got to give you all the tools. I can guarantee you 95% of the people I work with don't have the tools because owners, management, clinical directors, doctors, everybody involved doesn't give them the tools. Just because you get a job, you might be the greatest interviewer in the world, but how are you going to put it into reality? So if owners are going to ask something of you, if there's a project where you're going to get paid based on this, they need to give you the tools. Now, if they give you the tools, it's up to you to use them. And if you don't understand, you ask. So it's a give and take. But I believe that's the best way for people to really understand how to work in any industry, not just what I do, but any industry. If you don't ask a question, you're not going to get an answer.
Super interesting. I really like this question. This would be really interesting as well. How does remote or hybrid work impact the mental health of employees differently compared to traditional office settings?
COVID, when it came around, obviously COVID was a horrific thing for many people, families, economics, countries, what have you. It also set up a different way for people to realize that people can work. Many people have jobs, they work for remote, they work from home. I'm involved with a company, they've got people in 29 different states in 4 different countries. They get their job done. Here's the tough part. When you go into an office, it's fun. I've never really been a people person in businesses, so I go into an office 2 or 3 times a week. It's great to interact with people because then you're not alone. I'm pretty much a loner. I get in my head, I isolate. I think all the crazy things in the world are going to happen. For me, I get angry, I get pissed, I sit there. But when you're around people, it's a chance to calm down. And like I said before, it's a sense of family. But when you're working remote too, you get really caught up in things that are unhealthy for you. Say if you're working remote, you're on the computer all day. You can eat whatever you want. You can sit there and have all the snacks you want. You can drink. You can do the things that you couldn't do in front of other people. Another thing is when you go into an office, and I always tell people this, go into an office and look at someone who works 9 to 5. How many hours does someone actually work? It's hard to tell. You're working from home. There are programs now they put on your computer to let them know exactly how often you work and what you're doing at all times. The working from home thing is great because number one, saves on transportation, saves on having to go out and buy clothes for going to work, saves on many different things. And it's really a win-win situation, but also it's very detrimental to people who like to isolate. People who have addiction issues. How's anybody going to see if the fact that you're high if you go to work if you're doing it on a computer? Because here's the reality. It's not always Zoom meetings. It's not always interacting with people. It's how productive you are. And think about it. If you go into a workplace 9 to 5 usually, sometimes you'll start doing your work at night. You might get behind. So there's different ways to look at it. But I do believe that the virtual work or virtual anything that you're doing, there's the positive, there's the negative, depends on the person. As long as the people are productive, I think it's wonderful. That's the hard part is to realities come to, is it productive? Because sometimes you have more stress when you're alone than you do with your group of people. And other people being around them could be motivating. And if you're that type of person that needs to be motivated, that's what you need to do.
Number 6, what are the early signs of burnout and how can they be distinguished from general work-related stress?
Burnout comes from, number one, overworking, overthinking, doing so much work because you think you need to. I deal with people that I talk to them, they're like, I got to go to work. I'm like, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You've been working all day. Yeah, well, I got to get it done. Somebody's got to get it done. Believe me, 99% of the time, there's somebody doing the job. You just want to work harder and work more to prove something to somebody. Somebody said to me a while ago, they said, Dennis, you do realize you're going to get paid the same thing whether you do it for 2 hours or 10 hours. And that's the truth. If you can get it done in 2 hours, great. You get it done in 10 hours, that depends on who you are. But I think the hard part is people get so carried away that they want to prove themselves over and over. They want to be the best. They want to be number one. They want to earn all the money in the world that they can. They deserve it. And you're right, you deserve it. At what cost? Your mental health, your family, your life, all those things you can lose. You need to pace yourself. You need to have time management. That's the important thing. But when you're doing these things, you're responsible. So many people want to compete with each other. Well, I can do this, I can do that. I'm better at that person, I'm better at this person. People say, I've been here 90 days, when do I get a raise? Okay, let's work at this. we have a new guest. Arr! It's a little cat talking to me downstairs. Probably wants some salmon or something. But no, the reality is you have to be the one to take responsibility. And that's important. And a lot of times people won't. It's easier to brush off on other people, but you've got to be the one speaking up for yourself.
Can you discuss the effectiveness of employee assistance programs in addressing mental health issues in the workplace?
I think they're one of the greatest things ever created, invented. Whoever put them in, whoever started them, whether it's unions or not, because here's the reality. If you need help, I deal with so many different rehabs to where people have family leave, that they went to the human resource. If you let someone know you have a problem, reality is you can't lose your job. You've got to go do something about it, which is really amazing. And also they know that you're getting help. So if you're getting help, number one, and here's the selfish, self-centered about a business. If you're going to get help, they know that you're valuable and they want you to get help because they benefit if you're healthy. If you're not healthy, they don't benefit and you don't benefit. But all these different programs that work for people and help them, they fight for you to get what you need. They work with you to get what you need, but you've got to take that step. A lot of people I talk to are like, I can only leave for 30 days. I'm going to lose my job. Your job can't be taken away from you. There are laws. But all these help programs that places have, there's so many that do things for people, whether it's, lunch programs or whether, it's, oh, look at my friend. What's your name? This is my friend.
That's Ziggy.
This is Ziggy. Ziggy wants to control things. But Ziggy is another cat sticking his ass in my face. There you go. That's just how the world treats me sometimes. What you got to say? But the reality is anything that you do, you have to be somewhat responsible. And when it comes to dealing with the people and dealing with everybody, take your time. The workplace is a place that should be safe. And if you need help, ask for it. Because here's the reality. If you don't, and you lose your job or something goes wrong, or you affect somebody else negative, I hate to break the news to you, you damn well deserve it.
How do you approach the topic of mental health with employees who come from diverse cultural backgrounds where mental health may be stigmatized?
That's a great question because I deal with it all the time. And you have different cultures that do not want anybody talking about their mental health issues. Don't want people talking about addiction. Don't want people talking about anything because number one, they believe that you need to be strong. They believe that you need to work on this yourself. Because if you have the problem, you created the problem, so you need to find an answer. Many cultures, we have clients that come in from different cultures. We have Hispanic culture, Asian community, different Middle Eastern countries. And the first thing they say is, this is how my family was brought up. Certain cultures, everybody's quiet. And if you have a drug problem or mental health problem, they look at you different. Many cultures treat the men different than the women. And sometimes some of the cultures, if women have problems, they don't want to hear it. And if women seek help, they don't want to be around them. It's very interesting how all these different cultures try to handle things. And then they'll say sometimes, well, I'd like to see if I have a male therapist, if it's a man, or a female therapist. I can't see somebody else because they can't help me. Or do you have someone that's this religion? Or do you have someone that's from my culture that can work with me? And if you understand the different cultures, which I'm learning all the time, many of them do not help you deal with the problem. They push it down because think about it. If there is some type of mental health issue that deals with a cultural, it's probably generational. It's probably not been allowed, or you were told when you were younger, it's okay, you're fine. I always hate it when someone falls down, a baby, a kid. Get up or I'll give you something to cry for. Really? You're really helping set that child up, no matter who they are or what they are, for some very tough times in life, because then they're told they can't ask for help. Another thing to realize, asking for help only makes you stronger. It doesn't make you weak. So many people tell everybody, well, you're weak if you need somebody else's input. Really? 98% of the world is on social media looking for things. Why do you need their input? But I think it's really important when it comes to culture, if you believe what your culture is saying and it's not helping you, then you're part of the problem.
What strategies can employers implement to create a more mentally healthy work environment without invading the privacy of their employees?
They can offer different types of get-togethers. They can have fun things to do with the people so that makes people know that they're part of something fun. They could have dinners. They could have a mental health day once a month. They could bring in speakers. They can have workshops. They can do these types of things that help the people realize, number one, that you care about me. They can have also, if they really have someone, a professional, so if someone's having a hard time, they can go to that person and talk to them. And many companies have that now. They can give them incentives, go to the gym. They can help with memberships. They can go to spas. All these different things that make someone feel that they're cared about. A good example, one of the rehabs I work with, they hired a lady. She was paid $80,000 at a different place. She took a pay cut of $15,000. The reason she told me she took a pay cut is the other place treated her like crap, ran her to the ground. Her job was supposed to be during the day. She'd get called 1, 2 in the morning. The new place, they've got boundaries. She'd rather give up $15,000 and feel better about herself and like going to work every day than have the stress. So it's something, if you treat your employees good, sometimes they might be offered more money elsewhere, but that place is more stressful. They could be there and lose their job in a short period of time. Treat them with the respect and love that you say you do. I come across so many places that, again, say they're going to do something and they don't. Another big thing people have to understand about the workforce, many people get a job and then they don't do anything because they know you're not going to fire them. They want to use their sex. They want to use their religion. They want to use their culture. They want to use their color of their skin. They want to use something, and it's proven. And people are like that. I've talked to people who say, look, they'll never fire me. Why would they fire me? So you have so many laws that are against those who own businesses, so many laws that are for those who work for you. So you got to find dynamic. When you're hiring someone, make sure you find out a lot about them, because many times people are desperate to bring someone on board, number one, who might not be qualified, so therefore it's going to affect your work, and then you're going to blame that person. No, you're the one that hired the person. You need to do your job correctly. So I think that's one thing people need to definitely look at.
Absolutely. All right, so number 10, how can an organization effectively support an employee returning to work after a mental health leave?
When that happens and someone's coming back, you need to, this is my personal opinion, sit down with them, see where they're at, how they're feeling, and ease them back into whatever position they had. Because if you go away and you jump right back in, everything's going to go a little crazy. Ask them, okay, what is it that we need to do to make it comfortable to get you going back to where you were before, to be same productivity or maybe more productive? What is it that we do or did here that probably helped affect what issues you were going through? Then ease them back in. Don't make them work 40 hours a week right off the bat, or 32, whatever full-time employee. I'm not sure any place you're at. But work with them. Meet them where they're at. That's the most important thing, so that you can implement them back into their position. And also, here's the one thing you can do. When they go away, let them know that their job is secure. I hear employees tell people, well, I don't know if you're going to have a job when you get back. Because you think about it, you can't eliminate people at certain times, but you can eliminate a position. So you can't have to bring them back in that same position. But work with them, nurture them. You get the best out of finding out what they need, because whatever they need, you're going to benefit from. That's the way I look at it.
What role does workplace bullying or harassment play in the development or worsening of anxiety and mental health issues?
It's huge. There's not a place I work with where someone's not harassing someone in a roundabout way or bullying them or threatening them. You can threaten an employee by saying, look, you're not doing your job. Maybe somebody else can do it better. We're paying you a certain amount of money. It's not working. Maybe we're going to have to give that contract to somebody else. Harassing somebody, you work 9 to 5. You get calls at night. This needs to be done. That's harassment. Or they make comments about how you look, comments about what you wear. That's harassment. Or they put you down. There's a lot of employees. You got people coming from different backgrounds for different needs. The one thing everybody at a job has in common is they want a paycheck. Some people are happy just getting a paycheck and living their life. Some people want more. Some people want validation. Some people get jobs for reasons that they don't even know other than, I'll try it now. It's something good. It's kind of like people who get married. Yeah, I got married, didn't work out, so I got a divorce. You just tried to get married. You didn't do anything about trying to stay together. But in the workplace, you have a harassment. And remember, there's a human resource place everywhere. And they should be anonymous, so you can call someone and talk to someone. It doesn't matter if it's the owner, the boss, the person who's your equal at your job, but there's a lot of harassment that goes on in works. The biggest harassment I ever seen is at restaurants, how employees are treated a certain way by customers, and then in the back, how the cooks treat people and the comments people make. It's amazing people think they can comment about someone else's body or what someone else wears. No, that's an harassment. Don't let people treat you a way that makes you feel less than or uncomfortable. And here's the thing. You might have residual from something else. Someone might say something innocent to you, but you're going to take it the wrong way. Have a conversation with that person. Don't have a conversation with that person by yourself. Bring in somebody so you can communicate. To me, that's the best way because harassment and bullying happens on a day-to-day basis. And again, it depends on what your definition is.
Number 12, can you discuss the impact of job insecurity and economic downturns on employees' mental health?
It's tremendous. I've had that for years. And at the time, I still have that at times. I wake sometimes and I don't get a call back or I don't get a text message or an email. I'm thinking, well, Jesus, they're planning to fire me. Then I realized I did nothing wrong. It's just residual. When we let the residuals from our past affect us, it's crazy. And that anticipation that you could lose your job is horrific. But if you do your job and you do the things you're there for, what is asked of you, and you do it well, you do it to the best of your ability. If you need help, you ask. But it's very difficult because job insecurity in this country it's there. And sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are. I'll always go to athletes. Look how great these athletes are. But when it comes to a salary cap, there are athletes getting cut right now in football because they want to save money. But these are men. They have women in their lives that are mothers. They have kids. They have their boyfriends, husbands, girlfriends, whatever you have. So any sport out there, at some time you could lose your job. Whether it's the only one who doesn't lose a job, which is interesting, is the damn owners, unless they take it away from you, the team. But the reality is you can lose your job. It's based upon, so much of this is based upon somebody else's performance as well. You could be doing a wonderful job, but if the people around you aren't, and they're the ones under you or they're the ones you're responsible for, it's going to come right back to you. But job insecurity, we all deal with it. I don't care how secure, even if you own your own business, what am I going to do? What if we lose a client? What happens to this? What happens to that? So job insecurity is real, but slow down. When we get crazed and start thinking that somebody is disrespecting us or angry at us or doesn't want to talk to us, then the problem is we're going to create it. A good example, 2 weeks ago, I was dealing with an owner. I talked to an owner all the time. For almost 2 weeks, didn't hear from him. Texted me he's going to call me, didn't. So I finally talked to him. I said, Jesus Christ, I thought you didn't like me. I said, I was going to church just to pray. He goes, well, going to church ain't going to help you. And he's like, Dennis, I was busy. There's nothing you've done to where I wouldn't. Well, that's my residual trauma. And it created anxiety. And I'm thinking in my mind, well, fuck this person. I know what I'm going to do to get even. There's nothing to get even. Slow your mind down. Our mind's a beautiful thing, but my God, it can destroy us, just like religion.
13. How do leaders' attitudes towards mental health affect the overall mental well-being of their teams?
When you talk about sports and you talk about the people that are in a higher position, the owners, you look at their personalities, like it's a Jerry Jones, someone like that, or you look at the gentleman who owns the Clippers. You look at the different people, how arrogant or how brilliant they are or how outspoken. Then you have owners you never hear from. Do we take on people's personalities? If you know someone, it's like social media. Social media is great, but also there's so many predators on social media. They just go on Instagram, they go on Facebook, they learn everything about someone, then they introduce themselves as if they don't know them. Manipulation is out there. But when it comes to team owners, it's different because here's the reality. The owners don't give a shit about players. The bottom line is there's somebody else going to take their spot. If you win, you get paid. They sit back and they think, okay, can someone else do better? If they can't, okay, I'll pay them. There's salary caps, there's money, there's franchise tags in football. Basketball, it's a little different in baseball. You can sign an 8-year guaranteed contract. You break a leg, you're still getting it. Football, it's kind of hard to get guaranteed contracts. But sometimes people take on the ownership's personality because they want to be liked. They want to maintain a job. But the bottom line is in sports, it's about winning. Winning's the only thing that dictates. Anybody could say whatever they want. Look, you had an NFL owner who was accused 3 or 4 years ago at a massage parlor getting oral sex, blah, 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 this and that. Did that deter anybody wanting to work with him? Did that deter any player from wanting to come there? Did that deter anybody from supporting the team? No. Now you had the guy that used to own the Clippers, piece of human crap, racist, pathetic human being. They made him sell the team. So there's consequences and there's scenarios that everybody has to look at. But if you really look at it, the bottom line in sports is about making money. How many athletes do we see that have done something horrendous, been accused of something horrendous, still getting to play? Because the bottom line is, unless you've been found guilty, many people are going to use that, well, until found guilty, blah, 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 this is that. An assumption is very difficult.
What are the most effective coping strategies for employees facing high pressure or high stress roles?
Take time to yourself. Make sure you get sleep and rest. And don't tell me you can't. Even if your mind is thinking, go to bed early, let your body rest. Eat well. Those are things. Work out, go to the gym, go for a walk, do something like that. Have positive people in your life. Take time for yourself. I deal with so many people that say they can't. I used to be that way. I still am to a degree because I live alone and by myself. So it's like I don't have anybody to be responsible for. But you have to be the one making that decision. You have to be the one making those choices. Because here's the reality. You could be great at what you do. The stress level could be through the roof. At some point, you're not going to be able to handle it. It's going to affect you mentally, which could possibly turn into something physically. And it's going to be difficult. So everything you've worked your behind end off for, you could lose because you didn't ask for help or you didn't take the time to treat yourself the way you need to. No one needs to work 24/7, 7 days a week. Even doctors, when they go on these, when they, they're interns and they got to be awake for 30-something hours. Holy crap, I pray to God I never have some type of surgery, and that's the doctor. But that's the way it is. That's the environment. So you really have to make a choice for yourself. Find some type of part of your day, part of your life that allows you to take care of yourself. Because the bottom line is you could blame anybody you want, but if you're not doing what you need to do, the blame falls back on you.
All right, here's the other side of that. Number 15, how can companies balance productivity expectations with the need to maintain employees' mental health?
You should never undermine your employees. You should always work with them, number one. You shouldn't pit employees against each other. Also, if you don't have enough employees to do the job, who's to blame? You're to blame as an owner. You have to have enough people to do the work so that the work is done fairly and it's done equal. And whatever somebody's job title is or job description, they can do it. Because if you have clients, your clients are going to suffer if you're a cheap person. And I deal with so many places that don't want to pay anybody. We can't get a therapist because they want too much money. No, it's you're cheap. So if you want to hire interns, nothing wrong with an intern, but if you're an intern, you're not licensed in my field. So you have to learn. You might not be the best choice, but some people will hire someone because they feel like, you know what, that person can do the job. No, that's not how it is. You have to be smart as owners. You have to provide the tools, you have to provide the help, and you have to be open and honest to someone about what their job description is, and don't just bring them on. Then once they get there, load them up with everything else. And the employee has to have it within themselves to address those issues, because it's like anything. If you give an inch, any business is going to take a mile. but you also have to put yourself in a position to where they not just want you, they need you. Those are two different things, wanting and needing. Wanting is great because you can fantasize it. Needing, it's solid. They need you because you are the person getting something done. You are productive. They are benefiting from you. Make sure whoever you work with and whatever you do, they benefit. So when something comes to push to shove, you've got living proof that you make a difference.
In your experience, what are the long-term impacts on an organization that neglects mental health in the workplace?
Word gets around when you don't take care of your employees. So you're going to have turnover after turnover after turnover. You're going to lose probably clients. You're going to have a bad reputation. You could pay someone all the money in the world, but the people who come and work for you know it's going to be short term. So when anybody knows that this company is run by a crazy person or someone who's maniacal or someone who treats people like crap, people are going to work because they need a job. So that effect is real. I see it every day. I talk to employees, I talk to owners, I talk to human resource people. So I see where that plays a big part in a company. But a company that's going to be like that, you're just going to lose because you're going to have people, you're training, think about it. You spend a certain amount of money training somebody that comes into your business. A good example, like the other day, talking with someone, they brought on some people. Each new person they brought on cost $3,000 just for all of the paperwork and getting them the insurance and workman's comp. $3,000. Okay. They brought on 8 people. What's 3 times 8? It's 24,000 within the first week. Doesn't include salaries, doesn't include this and that. Now you train someone and you're really good at training, you treat them a certain way, they're going to take that training, go get a job someplace else. So you've got to be really smart about how you work with your employees and how you treat them, because the reality is your negative relationship with yourself. You asked a question earlier about the ownership and stuff, about people. How you perceive yourself is how you're going to treat other people in many different ways. And that's a fact.
How can technology and digital tools be used to support mental health initiatives in the workplace?
Well, you have social media where you get a lot of people on there talking about something and they back it up and they think that it works, whether it's some type of app or some type of treatment, some type of spa, some type of book. All these things work because people can see there's something out there for them. But technology makes things easier too when it's coming to work, because all work has different programs. All work have different things that you can use. It's going to make your life easier if you learn how to use them. Good example. I always say that because they're good examples. One of the companies I work with, when I first started working with them, they had an electronic, it's called Zoho. And I was afraid of it. I'd never had to put anything in a computer. Well, my God, one of the owners came to me one day and said, Dennis, 15 minutes. It's made my life easier. It's held me responsible. Because if you just do it by paper, do it a way that you're used to, sometimes you're going to lose. But technology has made businesses easier. It's made people more productive. It's educated people. It's helped people gain more knowledge. But technology is something that's really important. And if you use it the correct way, it's going to help you with stress reduction. It's going to help you do your job. One of the things, the work I do, there's reminders sent out. And in the beginning, it would stress the living hell out of me. But I realize it's the way the program is. It doesn't mean that I did something wrong. It's just helping. So if you let technology and social media help you, it's a win-win situation for everybody.
All right. So there's a term, psychological safety. Are you familiar with this?
I've heard it.
Okay. Let me see. I have an article here that talks about psychological safety. The term psychological safety is a shared belief held by members of a team that it's okay to take risks, express their ideas and concerns, to speak up with questions and admit mistakes.
That is the easiest thing in the workplace, because what you're doing is you're allowing someone to be creative, you're allowing someone to be productive, and you're listening to somebody. I sat in on a marketing meeting once about 6 months ago, and new person they hired came up with some wonderful ideas. The owner loved them, everybody, except for the director of marketing. Well, I don't know. Well, that director of marketing no longer has a job. This person came on board, is now the director. You let someone feel as if they're cared about. You let someone say what they want, knowing they're not going to be judged. Look, you're all going to judge each other no matter what. We're going to judge ideas. Everybody wants their idea to be the best. It's kind of like marketing when it used to be the old way where you put everybody in a room, marketing team, somebody come up with a great idea, advertising firm, you're the greatest guy because you're brilliant. The other people feel like crap. Well, that person hit it on that one. Doesn't mean the other people can't hit it on another. But when it comes to that, it's a safety zone. That safety zone can be a meeting you have every week. Safety zone could be a one-on-one you have with that person. It's allowing everybody to say what they want. Don't roll your eyes because then it's not a safety zone. Don't go, it's not a safety zone. Don't badmouth the person because their idea is different than yours. Because you think about it, if we all did the same thing, life would be boring. Everybody has to take chances. But a really good psychological safety zone allows you to participate. And the most important, every person in that room has a chance to grow personally as well as professionally.
That's why freedom of speech is so important, isn't it? So that you can speak about it and be wrong and be corrected and have a discussion to then, if we all aren't safe in speaking, then.
Well, you got to look at it this way. There's the positive and negative of freedom of speech. I mean, I had freedom of speech and I lost those 2 gigs in 24 hours because I had the right to say what I wanted.
But then you learned.
Say it the right way.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I learned.
Right.
Oh, I learned. Oh, yeah.
All right. So, super interesting. Number 19, what measures can be taken to reduce the stigma around discussing mental health issues in a professional setting?
A lot of times people don't want to talk about it. They're afraid, they're embarrassed, they're ashamed. You could give them articles. You could do workshops that talk about it. Doesn't mean people don't need to feel like they're signaled out. You can let people know that, look, we hire people. We know it's stressful. If you're going through something, give them an opening to talk about it. You don't force them. You don't ever accuse them. You don't say you have problems, but let them know when they come across something hard, ask questions, seek help, talk to the people around you, because it all works when you do that. But you've got to be gentle with it. You can also make sure that your human resource department has some type of program for someone who might need help, for someone who's asking, and make sure it's anonymous, that they can ask for help. So it's easy for people to help each other, but unless you ask and unless you provide what the other person needs, it's never going to work.
And number 20, how does the lack of mental health resources in the workplace affect the broader society, including healthcare systems and economic productivity?
Well, if you have a good example, people working in a machine shop, you have someone who's machine shop expert, whatever the correct term would be, then you hire some interns who don't really know what they're doing, but they want to learn. When you're learning on the job, there are certain jobs you can learn on the job because you have to learn by experiencing it. But when you're working in drug and alcohol and mental health in the medical field, and you hire somebody to teach them how to work in that field, it's detrimental because, number one, you're paying somebody who's working with someone who's trusting them with their life, trusting them with their help. And if they really don't know how to do it right now, it's detrimental to the person who needs the help as well as the company and the economy. Because here's the reality. If that person's still going through their addiction problems or mental health, if they're working someplace, wherever they're working, I'm sure that somebody's working in their spot since they're taking time off. The economy, think about it. When it comes to the medical field, how much money is spent on medical issues that start out with mental health issues? Stress, depression. You turn to drugs, you turn to alcohol, you turn to food, you turn to sex. You turn to something that has a huge effect on your life. And I'm someone dealing with an eating disorder who's had an eating disorder, and food is still very difficult at times, but I have a good program. I was 100 pounds more than I am today. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die. The medical conditions, I'm so thankful nothing ever happened, but medical conditions come from people who try to numb themselves with something. So the economy pays more money, businesses pay more money, workman's comp, you pay more money. People sue because they leave a job and state that you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Well, you're in a position of ownership or management. Always protect yourself. I always hear, today I heard someone say, well, I'm going to write her up. Really? Your write-ups are verbal. If it's in writing, then it's real. So make sure if it's the right thing, you write them up, you get them to sign it, that you always put things down in writing so you have proof rather than saying, I fired the person because they didn't do this. Where's the proof? And it's not like you're spying on someone. It's not like you're looking for that to happen, but people have to protect themselves. And many people don't. They just don't protect themselves. But the workplace, if people have issues and they're not addressed, the workplace is going to suffer productivity. The economy is going to be overwhelmed with medical costs, insurance costs, so many things. Because think about it. You got a job, you got a car, you got a house. All right. You lose your job because you have issues. Who's going to pay for the car? Who's going to pay for your house? Then you lose your house, you lose your car. You take the bus system. We need more buses. You don't have food, you steal food. You create a problem. It's a trickle-on effect for everything, or trickle down, but I think that's the best answer I could give. For someone who used to eat out of trash cans because of my eating disorder, I know what it's like to fear not having anything. So you got to be a lot smarter than that if you own a business.
That's right. That's our 20 questions. We appreciate everybody that sent anything in.
Yep.
And this is getting super interesting. And yeah, just your ability to really break all this down has been fascinating.
Well, hopefully it helps someone. Again, if it doesn't, let me know. Help us. Help us help people. That's the most important thing about this show, is we're open to learning. And if someone can help with an opinion that's going to change what we talk about or I talk about, I would welcome that. You have the number below. You can text us. You can call us. And appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day.